Running an installation for the military is a difficult job, and so with that, we need leaders. Leaders for the garrison portion, which is the home of the installation, is basically like a city, and with that city comes the mayor of the city. And today, we will be speaking with the Garrison Commanders of Fort Polk, outgoing and incoming. Thanks for listening. Come on in. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to this podcast. I'm Jeff England from the Fort Johnson Public Affairs Office. I'm still trying to get used to that. And with me today, I've got our outgoing commander, Colonel Sam Smith, and our incoming commander, Colonel CJ Lopez. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Oops, I got to make sure that everyone's mics are on. You would not believe how often I forget to unmute a mic.
So take two. Good afternoon.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Yourself?
I am just wonderful. Got this. I just got back from a vacation, so I got to get back into the swing of things. So I got to, try and.
Where did you go? I know you were on leave.
Oh yeah, I went to Florida. It was great.
What'd you do?
As much
beaches.
As I did. We went to Cocoa Beach.
Okay.
I got to have my mahi mahi. I got to go fishing. I hooked into a shark, but it took all my string, and it was great. Then we went over to Disney, and we got to go to 3 parks. So it was the Animal Kingdom, the Magic Kingdom, and Epcot Center.
The whole family?
It was me, my wife, my mother-in-law, and my sister-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great.
Great vacation.
And then we went over to the West Coast to look for manatees. Didn't find any, but then we backtracked a little bit and went to the villages and found a great place to retire. I love that place.
You got like 10, 15 years for that, right?
5 years.
10.
5.
10.
And to top it all off, you only have to be 55. It's a 55 and older community, but they allow like 49 years old in there under certain circumstances. If I could ever get to the retirement portion, though. Colonel Lopez, welcome to Fort Johnson, and welcome to your new garrison.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Where'd you come in from? Where'd you PCS from?
So I just came in from Maxwell Air Force Base.
Maxwell?
Oh, yes.
I've been to Maxwell.
Different side of the Army. Different side of the Department of Defense, I should say.
That's
the Air Force.
That's where OTS is for the Air Force.
That is.
It's officer training.
Professional Military Education Center of Excellence for the Air Force.
Absolutely.
It's time over there in Montgomery.
That was great. I got to stop in there on my way. I was PCSing from Nellis to Moody, which is in South Central Georgia, and I got to stop in Maxwell, and then made my way on to to Georgia. Honestly, I think I'd probably. Actually, I don't know. It's been a long time, so it might be different. I'm sure it is.
It definitely has matured. It was a wonderful time to be out there for about a year and a half. So.
That's great.
Air Force does it right out there.
So you were there for quite a while, huh?
About 11 months.
11 months?
Yes, sir.
That was
all PCS.
It was a PCS.
So yeah, coming back to Fort Johnson here. Family stayed here. I geo-bachelored out to Maxwell Air Force Base. So my wife and my daughter stayed here.
That's crazy. So that's even a little harder. I did the 1 year tour in Kunsan. It was a overseas remote,
right.
So nobody had family there. So everyone was one big family. It was great. I liked it. So Colonel Smith, you've been here for 2 years. I remember you coming in. I remember seeing you at the ribbon cutting or grand opening up at the Air Traffic Control Squadron before you had changed command to come in here.
So when I was here 4 years ago as an OC in Ops Group, or just when
I didn't know you back as an OC. This was when you were visiting just before, maybe a month or two before.
February when I did my right to ride with Colonel Roseberry.
Yeah, it was like, that's my new commander. So what did you think of your tour here?
Wow. So 2 years, right? A lot of reflection, a lot of learning. As you mentioned in the intro, this is like a city. People call the Garrison Commander the mayor. You got the commanding general, the senior commander, who's like the governor. But you got all of our directorates, or team of civilians and military and units who help you manage all of that across the installation. So great learning. I learned a lot about how to manage and run an installation. And so, whether you talk about roads, childcare, education, housing, fitness, outdoor recreation, barracks, construction, civilian development, money, programming, all of that comes into play out, separate from day to day being a, brigade commander for units, dealing with training calendars, command and staff, all of that. But wonderful experience, in the first year, you would say that, did not fly by, but the second year definitely flew by. And so the one thing I'm going to take away from, I'm not ready to leave, and I'm going to go kicking and screaming to hand this over to Colonel Lopez, but I'm going to miss the people. And so there's a lot of discussion about, do we have the right amount of time that a garrison commander spends in command, because it's 2 years like any other brigade command. And there's pros and cons for longer because things are so complex, when you're running the city. And so whether it's pipes, American water, our energy, how we're advancing our star base, a STEM center for providing science, technology, engineering, art, and math for our 4th to 6th graders that we're about to open up here shortly. The indoor, playground, Playtown Cafe, that was a long time in the coming, based on feedback from the community about having an indoor playground for our kids. Roads, right? Alabama Avenue was definitely a thorn for me for like 10 months, but we finally got that paved. So motor pools, we opened up to just here a couple hours ago for 46 engineers. So it's providing readiness. And everything we do on the installation on the garrison side, we do by, with, and through the senior commander. SEC Army gives senior commanders authorities, and we leverage senior commander's authorities to execute and manage an installation. But everything we do is by, with, and through the senior commander. And so we try to do that seamlessly and let the senior commander focus on the operational side of the house by having a good, seamless, synchronized, and integrated garrison across the board.
Well, you did a great job. And there's so much that I've seen happen since you've been here. Everything from like the dog wash, car wash, all the ways up to the coming out of the COVID, and you did everything. It just seemed like everything fell into place when you got here and when you did everything. It seemed so effortlessly to you.
Oh, you see the gray hair. It's not effortlessly. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of hours from our team across the board. We have a phenomenal team. As I keep telling the extended team and everybody that I get a chance to that will listen, is I would put our team up against any installation. We got a great team. Now, we have all different kind of personalities, any organization you go into, but we get paid and to try to manage all of that to really accomplish the mission. So there are things that I inherited from previous garrison commanders and command sergeant majors that Colonel Lopez will inherit. And so our job is just make sure we do the best we can to provide the best quality of life for our soldiers, our families, and our civilians. That's our goal.
I've seen a lot of the quality of life has stepped up a notch. It really has. The housing, all of the remodeling, and all of the buildings, and I've seen barracks getting open left and right, and the new housing being remodeled, and even new restaurants and amenities coming in, like with the food court, and we had two of them, two brand new ones open up. It's a lot.
Yeah, just like General Gardner mentions, JRTC in Fort Polk is known for a great place to train, right? Because in 1941 during the Louisiana maneuvers, that's why it's how we existed and it's how we were developed and created. But we are not just a great place to train. We're also a great place to live, deploy from, and come home to. And so that's what we have the privilege of doing as garrison commanders, is to manage that. And so whether there's a problem or an issue or a challenge, we try to strive and move the ball forward with improving the quality of life. And the Army has thankfully invested in JRTC in Fort Polk for Fort Johnson now here in a couple of days.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to get used to.
I know, but it's a great story, right? Like there's a lot of discussion about, why are we changing our name? And I think as we continue to tell the story of Sergeant Johnson, then it's it resonates more. Sergeant Johnson was very adaptable, resilient. He had courage, not just the bravery he demonstrated in combat, but, just serving in the Army during those difficult times when he was working with the French and being cast away. And so his resilience, how he just kept getting back up and just never giving up, that is a true story of how our community is here. Is we're in, Leesville, Louisiana, and it's a little bit outside of a big city, but the reason they chose this location is because it had great land, and it's tough and it's hard. And our main mission is to make sure that we train, infantry brigade combat teams here in our great land that we have in Louisiana, to make sure that we learn the mistakes here and we never have to go through what we learned from Vietnam or other things like that. And so Sergeant Johnson is he emulates and just demonstrates, all of those values that we stand for. And so that's the story. And so we're not changing history. We're just honoring this portion of our history.
Yeah. I really delved into his story, and it's just amazing. Him and the Hellfighters are just amazing. It's hard to believe the what he did that earned him the Medal of Honor. It was just fantastical. Colonel Lopez, I do believe I saw a green beret on you as you were walking up. Special Forces.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Yeah, so if there's a movie made about you, we need to bring back the Duke.
Yeah. John Wayne. Yeah. No, that'd be great. No, yeah, like Colonel Smith was saying, some of those challenges that he had to deal with. Being the Garrison Commander, I was a community member underneath his tenure prior to going out to the Air War College, and from that, about 20 years in Army Special Operations. So it'll be a significant transition for myself to fall in on those challenges, issues that he so gracefully handled over the past 2 years.
Yeah, you got some big shoes to fill.
So there's some anxiety, there's some anxiousness waiting to be able to do that, but I'm also super excited. I mean, as you just said, the storied legacy of this location is tremendous. I mean, my family traces back here. I have family here. I've traced myself, through my military career many, many times to Fort Polk, now Fort Johnson. I'm super excited to get on board. Probably a little too excited. We're counting down the minutes over here, as I'm sure Colonel
one
Smith
person
is too.
I don't want to give it up.
So where are you going, Colonel Smith? Where are you going to? Where are you PCSing to now?
So I'm going back to the Pentagon. As most know, my husband works in the National Capital Region, and he's been visiting once a month because it's a lot easier for him to visit than it is for me to get away. But he's stationed in D.C. and I got a great opportunity, and I'm very fortunate. And so I'm going to the Pentagon and working for the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel Readiness as his senior military advisor.
Nice.
Yep.
I met your husband.
Okay.
Hey, he's a great guy.
Is.
I think everybody that I've talked to that's spoken to him, everyone loves him. It's just he's a great guy.
He's the brains in this relationship. He definitely keeps me humble. He grew up all over the world. Speaks multiple languages, understands, just loves to connect to people, understand their stories, their backgrounds, and just he's phenomenal. One reason we got married. So
yeah, he seems to be a good listener too.
Yes,
I was talking to him, and it's just like he just kept drawing more information out and everything. It's like, why am I speaking? Why am I talking so well? That's beside the point.
I'm an intel officer by trade. He also works in the intel community, just in a different capacity.
That is so cool.
Yep.
That is so cool. And I'm sure you're happy to at least to be back in the same state.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. Yeah, great opportunity. And then we get to live together for the first time in a while, which is great. So careers lining up, the job just presented itself, and lucky to go and still try to give back and work at the DoD level and try to help advance some personnel readiness across the department.
Just waited long enough, and it finally happened.
Roger that.
Colonel Lopez, you got family in the area, I hear.
Absolutely. My wife, my high school sweetheart, been married quite a long time. She could tell you the specific date. I forget it quite often. She's in town. I have a daughter goes to Leesville High Schools and JRTC, loves dancing, loves volleyball. She's got me wrapped around her pinky finger quite tight. And we just received our son back from his first year in college, Tennessee Tech.
Oh, wow.
Where he's pursuing an ROTC scholarship, got many other scholarships. He's got the big brains of the family.
Man, you just got a whole military family.
I do. It walks it down, for my father, his father, so forth and so on, a few generations in. But he'll carry on that tradition. He's got the big brains of the family. My daughter is the more charismatic one, and my wife, again, the rock at home, is the more justice, the more accountability, the more responsibility.
And you're the spoiler.
I tend to be. I don't know if they would tell you that, but
I understand that. I always wanted a daughter. I never had one. Yeah. I got a stepson, and he's 17 years old. He's goes to Southbow, and he's quite the handful.
All right.
17 going on 30.
Yep, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, he apparently knows everything, and I don't know anything.
We're at the starting stage with that with my daughter right now.
Oh yeah, so. That's always fun.
I feel it.
That's always fun. So, Colonel Smith, when you were first joining the Army, did you go through ROTC or OCS or Academy?
So a little bit of, so I did ROTC technically. Out of high school, I did the early commissioning program. And so out of high school, went to basic camp, Fort Knox, Kentucky. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do after high school. And I wanted to be the first one to go to college. I was applying to colleges and I was getting the price tags. And this was in 1995. And I didn't have the best grades in high school, but I played a lot of sports. So I got into the prep academy at West Point. I went up to go visit. And then after going to visit, I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that. 5 years? I'm like, no. You tell a 17-year-old 5 years of college when I can only do 4. So the Army said, hey, we got a deal for you. You go away to basic camp at Fort Knox, Kentucky. You do well. We're going to pay you for 6 weeks, and we'll give you 2-year scholarship. I said, okay, done. And so that's what I did. I went off to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and then went to Boonville, Missouri for military junior college, Kemper. And then I graduated essentially like an MS4 in ROTC with an associate's degree, and then you transfer to a four-year university. So I went back to University of Maryland, joined the Guard while I finished my degree completion, and then went full-time active duty in 2000.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yep.
I wanted to go to the academy or something. And my counselor said I didn't have the grades for it. And I'm looking back, it's like, there's a thing called the Prep Academy. Mm-hmm. I could have gotten better. but no, sadly, no. That's amazing. Did you know that, when you came in as an officer, did you have plans on making it to full bird colonel?
I did not.
No.
So, coming as a cadet, and then you went to second lieutenant, what you do in all officers, well, majority, I can't speak for all, but majority of us on the officer side, how we look to figure out what our career looks like is we look for people above us who are on promotion boards and what jobs they do. And so we try to mimic that according to what the Army tells us we have to do as well. So when I became a captain, I said, okay, I'm about the 4-6 year mark. What am I going to do? I'm like 30% into this. And then we had the height of the wars going on in Afghanistan and Iraq. And I just told myself, okay, if I'm going to make this 20 years, everybody says you at least need to make lieutenant colonel. That's the goal, right? Everything else is icing on the cake once you become lieutenant colonel. The rest, you're playing the lottery. So I kind of, aimed to say, okay, I want to make lieutenant colonel. That was my goal as a captain. Then the Army was expanding, and there were a lot of people making lieutenant colonel. Like promotion rate to lieutenant colonel back in the day was like 89% or something like that. So I said, I don't just want to be anybody. I want to be competitive. I want to be a battalion commander or Division G2. And then, so I got lieutenant colonel. Then I became a Division G2. Then I said, okay, now I made that goal. Am I going to keep going? And I said, yes, I want to be competitive for 06. And then I want to be competitive for command. And so that's all been iced on the cake. So no, I did not know when I first came in. And then I think it's just, one of the lessons we learn in life is continue to challenge yourself and go outside your comfort zone.
That's awesome. That really is. Did you, Colonel Lopez, did you have dreams of making it big in the Army?
No, you can't see, but I'm shaking my head. It's been one day at a time. You talked a little bit about the lottery. I think I've been blessed and honored even to be put in any position, let alone, the commission date back in 2000. So I went to college right down the road in Lafayette at what used to be called University of Southwestern Louisiana. And I was only going to spend a few months, probably one tour, so about 3 years inside the military, and then get out and go to the Bureau. 3 years turned into 5 turned into 10. I love seeing the smiles of the NCOs and officers and warrant officers and civilians every time you walk into the office, wherever I've been. And that's what kept me. The teamwork and just the exuberance of everybody on the team wanting to be there. I've been blessed to have great team members, and I stay because of their smiles. I stay because of their fervor for teamwork.
Now, what would you guys say about somebody that's in and contemplating? I mean, they're right at that mark, right around 8-9 years, somewhere in there, and they're teetering on getting out. And because I've suffered from what I call as the grass is greener syndrome, and I got out thinking that, well, I can do this and I could do that, and I got out and spent like 3 years trying to get back in, and that was in a time they weren't taking prior enlisted. What would you say to somebody that's right at that point?
Well, I mean, I would offer that at some point we all have to, go to our next chapter, whatever that is. And so you have to make the best decision for yourself, whether it's for you personally or for your family. But I would just challenge folks who are trying to make that decision is if you think you can still make a difference, and you still have the passion for it, we need great leaders to be in the Army. So whether you're enlisted, an NCO, an officer, we need you to stay because we need good leaders. And so if you can still make a difference, you still have a passion, still go for it. The hardest part about getting out or taking on a new job, if you were to get out of the military, is starting over, right? Who wants to start over? And so the hardest times as an officer is when you're learning. You're a second lieutenant, you're a first lieutenant, you're a captain. Then when you're a field grade, a major, then you're like, okay, I think I'm starting to understand the bigger picture. And then you start, expanding your portfolio, broadening yourself, understanding the strategic nature of things, not just the operational, tactical. So I would just offer that, if you still think you have the passion and you can make a difference, then, challenge yourself and think about just changing the job or going somewhere different or, change your MOS. You could still serve in a variety of different ways. But if you do happen to get out, you still are an ambassador for the military and the Army. So tell your story, for others who may not know what the military experience is like.
Yeah. Colonel Lopez?
Yeah, tell your story. That's tremendous advice. I think the one thing I would add, though, if you feel like your passion is outside the military, I mean, there's off ramps. The National Guard, the reserves are always looking for competent patriots, but have a plan. I've seen many a soldier, many a warrant officer, many an officer, many an NCO get out and then realize that the grass is not greener. And they had a plan. They didn't like that plan, and there was no transition to come back. Bringing them back, pushing them to the National Guard was a good off-ramp for them. And once they determined that the grass wasn't greener, but I don't think you're very hard pressed to find a better network of team players and people that are just pushing for mission completion outside of the Army. So I would caution them, have a plan, and then if you have that passion, find an inroad.
That was actually the road I took. So I couldn't get back in active duty, so I went National Guard and was able to finish out 24 good years of.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, it was a hard road.
Last year you retired, if I remember correctly.
2019. 2019. Last year was
celebration.
It was my retirement ceremony. 2.5 years in the making.
It was a good party.
Yeah, between COVID and changeovers and all that, it took a while to get it, but I finally got to get my little flag and my letter, and it was the only one signed by the former president, where everyone else had to have the current president. So it's like I was special. So I was the only different one, which is not abnormal. So you're
no comment.
So Colonel Lopez, you're a Green Beret, you're Special Forces. We have a Special Forces recruiter right down the hill from us. I've been trying to get him on this show. Maybe I can, once I get the recruiter on here, I could bring you back and you can tell us some of your stories.
Absolutely. There's also another commander on this base too, the Special Operations Training Detachment Commander. I was formerly in that position, but absolutely, I can reach out, talk to them. They would be more than happy to put the message out, because as our old boss, my old boss, their current boss, everybody's a recruiter. Everybody tries to get the good message out about the special operations community, who's coming out of a 20-year war. Bringing them on, that would be a tremendous opportunity for them to get their message out.
It's not every team that gets a song made about them.
All right.
It's a Green Beret song.
Yes.
Yeah.
An awesome.
So you're going on to Washington, D.C., and you plan on serving like 20 more years, and
I'll keep going as long as the Army tells me to keep going.
That was the first thing that really caught me off guard was when I tried becoming an officer, and apparently you have to run, and I can't run. But it turns out that the ID cards for officers are just a little different than enlisted, and I was really surprised when I found out that your ID cards have indefinite under expiration, whereas the enlisted has an expiration date. It's the little things that just like, wow, really? They're in forever? It's like, no, they serve at the will of the president or something like that. Didn't make it up that high. So you had plans. What out of all the plans that you were coming in when you came in, out of all the plans that you had for your term here, which ones were actually accomplished and that you're proudest of?
So I would say I didn't create any of them by myself. The team, like I mentioned earlier, we have a phenomenal team, and so we just work together to advance the priorities of the senior commander. And it's the first one we have. It's just like the chief of staff of the Army is, people, and so it's about making sure we're taking care of our people, and how we do that is a variety of ways in the garrison. And then it's about building readiness, and so we do that on the installation of building readiness to make sure we have quality motor pools. We have facilities for our units to operate in. We're providing, the LRC with rail and transportation to make sure that all the units can come in here with your equipment. That we have all of our maintenance facilities that are optimal, and then providing programs and services. So the two bread and butters we do in the garrison is we build readiness and we provide programs and services. That's what we do. And so whenever anybody asks me, hey, what does the garrison do? And we build readiness for the senior commander and all the tenant units on the installation. And then we provide our soldiers and our families and our civilians and our community quality of life programs and services. So whether, that's an MWR program, a facility, whether that is a new parent support program, that's BOSS, Better Off for Single Soldiers, whether that's, our family advocacy program, you name it, we have it, ACS, Army Community Service. And so that's what we do on the installations to make sure financial readiness, all of that. And so there's not one thing that I'm most proud on. There are many things that I'm proud of. And those are all the things I just mentioned that we accomplished together. Whether, people will talk about, the amount of money that got invested into Fort Polk, or how many barracks we built, or, the $77 million we're, investing in our housing to improve, our 3,300 homes on the installation, all of that. Education, how far we come with our education, spouse employment. And so all of those things I'm proud of.
Yeah. And don't forget the indoor play center.
Indoor Playtown Cafe.
Yep. I've seen how popular that is. I walk the soccer field over there, and that place is always happening.
Bowling center, got
the bowling center is awesome. I love it.
Hidden gem we still have is, we have putt and we have go-karts, right?
Yep.
Right there. And then one thing I always tell parents is that if you're looking for a hidden gem on Fort Polk, we have an indoor climbing wall for kids. And we have what I call the kick punch wall down at Warrior Gym. It's a youth gym. And there's a whole computerized system, and kids line up, and the computer will come up and it'll be like 1 + 1, and the kid has to press 2, and they get to kick and punch this wall. And also have an indoor climbing wall, all free for our families.
Well, we need to get one for like the grown-ups and stuff. And it's like overtime and not enough time. It's like,
that wouldn't last long. It'd be damaged very quickly. Yeah.
So, Colonel Lopez, what are some of your ideas for coming in? Do you have any big plans or any big ideas that might interest you in trying to attempt? I mean, because I know everything is, it's up in the air, and everything is dependent upon a lot of different factors. What kind of ideas do you have for Fort Johnson?
Yeah, one, not to let any slack occur between our change of command occurring here on the 15th of June. But what I'm most excited about is contributing to the legacy, or carrying that legacy forward. Everything that he just talked about, all the families, all the community members, Leesville, Nulano, DeRidder, Vernon Parish, they all have a stake in the activities that occur on this post, on this garrison. And to be able to carry that forward, working with a tremendous team. I've had the pleasure to meet about 90% of them. They're tremendous Americans. Working with them on a daily basis to be able to support that individual. I'm a direct beneficiary of all the toils that Colonel Smith done in the past couple of years, getting me ready to go to Iraq or Afghanistan, getting my family secured and settled and supported and stabilized during my transition when I was over at the Air War College. Being able to do that for all the soldiers and families and members of the community that have a stake or ownership inside this post, that's what I'm really excited for, carrying forth that legacy and not letting anything water come into the boat between the transition of Colonel Smith and I.
That's awesome. And we can wind this down. I know you guys are really busy, and you've got a lot to do, and you've already done a lot. You've been here shadowing. You got to shadow Colonel Smith before you take over, and that's normal. That's normal for most colonels come in and check it out. It's too bad I couldn't do that. It's like, I need to take a trip to Italy, but I can't get stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, so we've been fortunate. Not all jobs you have, based on assignments and timelines. But Colonel Lopez was able to carve out some time, and we spent about a weekish together, just seeing the installation, getting exposed to people, meeting, our community members that Colonel Lopez mentioned, and our great team. And it's going to take time, just like it took me. It took me a good 9 months to really understand. And so that's the two things. If you remember, Jeff, here's the quiz for you. What are the two things I said when I took command?
Do what I say when I say it. No.
False. False. Retraining. No, I said if we can do two things and two things well, we are going to listen. I'm going to listen. We're going to have a team that listens, and we're going to be inclusive. And so I thought about the question you asked me earlier. It's what am I most proud of? Is I tried to do those two things that I wanted the team to hold me accountable for, and that was to listen and to make sure that everybody felt valued. But as we talked about, and Colonel Lopez mentioned, we can't do this alone, right? We cannot do this alone or by ourselves. There's not one person that makes the team, and so we need our community partners. We need our mayors, our chamber, our councilmen, our senators, our superintendents of our school boards. We need our pastors, we need our business owners, we need all of them to work together to move in the right direction. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my fellow commanders across the board on the installation, because Garrison Commanders could not be successful without their support and engagement. And then I'll leave this with, and also, keeping me sane and talking me off the ledge, because we all need to vent to people. And so my husband, I just want to thank Hernan publicly and for all the support, late nights, understanding that I couldn't travel or come back. But I thank everybody for all of the care and the compassion and the kindness they extended both of us during my tenure here. Well,
I hope we can, I hope you leave us with like warm, happy feelings, at least some good memories, and remember us fondly, or look back on us fondly.
I won't forget the people. I won't forget all of the people. I won't.
Great. Yep. Except for me. No. Colonel Lopez, welcome. I am so thrilled to have you on board, as well as I'm sure your family is thrilled to have you back. It's been, almost a year now?
Yep.
And any changes that you've noticed?
No, my son's taller than me now. Being away in college, I guess he grew about 3 inches. My daughter, I think, looking eye to eye now. So aside from the growth, I mean, no, not at all. They're still the best support I've ever had in any form or shape.
I'm sure they're excited to have you back too.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's like, now I have a curfew and. But I appreciate both of you guys coming in, really do. And sir, it's been a pleasure working for you, doing as best I can for you most of the time.
No, I mean, the PAO does an amazing job for the requirements you all have, we all have, based on the staffing we have, and we have a talented team, right? It's some things you don't like to say what you know how to do, because then you don't want more work. But I know the team is so talented, and that's why I said I put our team against any installation. And you guys have a lot of talent and potential still, and so I know Colonel Lopez will continue to challenge the PAO and move in the right direction.
Yeah, put in a good word for us. Have him come on over and do some spots and stuff, and we could have some fun with some.
Yeah, we're
videos.
glad we have this capability. This is one new thing that we had in the last year, I think.
Yes.
Coming out of COVID and all that kind of stuff, new capability with podcasts, and so looking forward to just to hearing those when I'm gone.
We've had a lot of support from you, and getting the equipment to make things happen, and do the best we can with the studio and the podcast here, and it's only going to get better. Just gotta work at it and find the time to get it while we're still doing all of the other important stuff that we're doing all the time. And Colonel Lopez, welcome to the team. And look forward to working with you. Maybe we can have you back in here and talk about something else. Talk about something that you're excited about.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to have to wait 2 years and get you in just as you're leaving.
No, you guys are going to break him in early. Like he's heard about going up to Senla, and talking to KLB. He'll make the radio stations and all that kind of stuff. But what Jeff's really telling you is don't forget about them here. And so that's what they're telling me here. It took me a while to get here.
And I'll be back. It'll be a pleasure. I'll have a quiz for you.
That would be awesome. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining us. Colonel Lopez and Colonel Smith, it's been a pleasure having you in here. And if you come back to visit, let us know. Drop in. Say hi.
I may bring my boss on a visit.
That'd be great. That'd be great. We'd love to see him.
Yep.
All right. I'm Jeff England, and you've been listening to the podcast at Fort Johnson. And, of course, the JRTC is also here keeping us busy. And we'll be listening at you later.
That was easy.